Welcome to the Miller's Edge Extra. Yes, we're going to keep doing these little videos in between our full segments. Anytime topics come up or things we think that need further discussion or put people in their place, we talk about it. So that's how we roll here on the Miller's Edge Extra. I'm hanging out in the old Suburban while we're doing it, but that's okay. Thank God for the internet or the Wi-Fi, as they say. But anyway, I would have thought by now, going into week 6 of the college football season, especially here at Alabama, that we would have really no conversation as it pertains to who the real deal is, who the guy is for Alabama's job, who is QB1. But yet, in this fan base and things that we hear on the X or Instagram or YouTube videos, there is a lot of conversation about Jalen Milroe still being replaced, and to me, it sounds foolish. I can't believe people are still talking about this. I mean, even on talk radio, and which we're on every day, 11 to 12 on Tide 100.9. This conversation is still coming up, which, again, the word I would like to use, but I'm not going to use. I will call it, some kind of goes with 9. You can put the other words in the beginning of the 9 and you figure out what I'm talking about. I would say it's crazy and foolish. This man has established himself. Nick Saban has said, this is my guy. This is who we're rocking with. This is who we're rolling with. But yet other people are going on this rant about why Ty Simpson still should be the quarterback for the Crimson Tide. And in my mind, I can't process that because I'm like, why? What have Jalen Milroe done to not be the quarterback? Right? He's besides the Texas game, he's won. He's been very consistent. He last game had no turnovers, so he's protecting the football. He's playing with much, I think, better confidence. I think he's delivering the ball where it needs to be. He's kind of stood in the pocket a little bit too long sometimes because I think he tries to be more what they want him to be or what people think he should be. And I think a lot of times that hurts quarterbacks like Milroe, who is a rhythm quarterback. With his legs, he's explosive. We saw the 53-yard touchdown run, kind of, again, an off-schedule play. He does that very well. You look at his percentages, though he hadn't thrown 5,000 passes, but when you look at his percentages, Christian, are very, very stout. 17 to 21 a couple of weeks ago against Ole Miss. He was 10 to 12 in that game against Mississippi State. And that's part of the game plan. They're not going to, again, we talked about this, they're not going to ask him right now to go into a hostile environment and start chunking passes all over the ballpark. But I don't get how some people are still on this whole he shouldn't be the guy. See, I think we're in a world that we're if you don't have 500 yards, we don't see Shedeur Sanders versus Caleb Williams. We don't see these guys, Ole Miss versus LSU, 55-49 games. They're going up and down the field, no defense, throwing it all over the park, not running the football. We're in a world that they want PlayStation football. And if it's not PlayStation football, it looks as if, it's not a good offense. But Alabama's just doing what works for them. It works for his skill set right now. And I think if they're smart, they'll add a little bit to the repertoire of Jalen Milroe each and every single week. He can make all the throws. He can. He's shown that. He's proven that. He has that X factor of explosive with his legs and with his arm, with the deep balls. So, and the mistakes are going away. Would we like to see him a little quicker, make decisions? I would, yes. But the guy's only started 4 or 5 games, right? He's lost 1 game against Texas. Some will say maybe the best team in the country. And even in that game, though the mistakes, let me remind you that the guy gave Alabama the lead in the 4th quarter and then brought them back. It was the defense that failed them in that game, despite the mistakes. But he still gave them an opportunity, right? So I'm just I don't get it. I just think it's just crazy that people are still sitting here saying this kind of stuff. And it's just like, and as I said on our show yesterday, on Overreaction Monday. This man played a great ball game, and not nobody, but a lot of folks don't want to give him credit for what he's doing well. And to me, again, that's very blank nine of people to think that way. Very idiotic to have that kind of mindset. And so I don't know. I don't know what he can do. It's like a guy like this, unless he wins the national championship, they're going to always say, see, they're waiting on that C moment. They're waiting on that see, I told you moment. For him to have a bad game, to have a couple bad plays, to Alabama to lose with him as a starting quarterback. They are waiting on that see, I told you so moment, which I think is extremely unfortunate.
It is. And I guess I'm just like you. I'm just confused on, why this is still a conversation as of now, right? I could understand if he had gone into the last couple games and continued to make mistakes, put us in position to lose football games, but he's done exactly the opposite of that, right? He's played winning football. He had the turnover against Ole Miss, but what did he do? He responded correctly. He made some really nice throws in that game, and he led us to a victory against a pretty solid Ole Miss team. A lot of people at the time were saying, "Oh, well, they're not great." They just went out and had a shootout against LSU, and it was a 57 to 40 something game. And so in my opinion, that's a step in the right direction. He follows that performance up against Mississippi State on the road, where you said it was a 10 of 12. Again, not many passes thrown, but he was very efficient. He looked a lot more comfortable navigating the pocket. The protection was obviously better, so that played a role. But all the throws he made were great throws. He trusted his athleticism and made plays when he needed to. And so, again, more improvement. So that leads me to the question, why is this still a conversation right now, right? Look, they have Ty Simpson as QB2, and I think that's the right decision. We saw what Tyler Buchner was able to do or not able to do when he got his opportunity. And Dylan Lonergan, who's got a great arm, he's still young and developing. But that's the same issue with Ty Simpson. He's still young and developing, right? And I think people have to remember that. This is what I'll say to the argument about, we need to go with Ty Simpson, because I've heard the conversations that, we need to put Ty Simpson in. He's a better thrower. He has a higher ceiling. Put him in there and let him develop. The reality is, folks, this is Alabama. We don't have time to let guys develop, right, in season. You can't. You do that at practice and while they're waiting, right? You do that behind the scenes. At Alabama, we're about winning right now. It's about the best man for the job right now. There might be guys that might be a little bit better behind you, but if they're not ready or prepared, they're not going to play. We've seen in the USF week that without Jalen Milroe even playing, he won that week. We saw that he was the best man for the job. Now, Tyler Buchner, let's take him out of the equation, because we saw that he's definitely not the guy right now. And that's not a knock on him. It's just a fact. Ty Simpson did some good things, led some drives, but it was not perfect. And in my opinion, he obviously lacked the athleticism of Jalen Milroe, but yeah, he had the nice pass to CJ Dupree, but nothing really stood out. And I think that's what Coach Saban's been saying this whole time about somebody's got to take the bull by the horns, right? If you want the job, and nobody ever did that. Nobody truly dethroned Jalen Milroe. And for the people that just think Ty Simpson is this much better of an option, well, why didn't he win the job or beat anybody out when he had the opportunities? It goes back to the spring. He had an opportunity to do so then. He didn't, extend the lead there, or he didn't take the lead in that quarterback competition. Then, you had fall camp, had another opportunity battling out against Jalen Milroe, Tyler Buchner. There still was, he didn't win the job then. And again, that's not a knock on him. He's a great player. We've seen him. I've seen him in practices and scrimmages. He can make great throws, but he's also vulnerable to making mistakes. And that's expected for a young quarterback. He's still growing and developing. He's not the guy right now. We've been able to see that. And that's okay. Could he be the guy down the road or long term? Absolutely. But we're talking about now. We're talking about the present, where it matters. We've already dropped one game to Texas. We're not in position to fool around and try to put a guy in there because we think, okay, well, he can probably, grow as a passer as the season progresses. If you drop another game, you're out. And right now, the West is up for grabs. We've seen how explosive this offense can be with a guy like Jalen Milroe with his playmaking ability. You got to stick with that. You got to roll with him. You got to support him, and you got to put him in position to make plays. And so my next thing is, I've heard people compare this to, well, yeah, Jalen Hurts, a very similar type player when he was younger to Jalen Milroe, a guy with great athleticism, sometimes was criticized about his vision or his ability to scan defenses and make those throws. But then you had an elite quarterback, keyword elite, in Tua Tagovailoa sitting behind him. Well, here's the difference. No shots at Ty Simpson, but he's still learning and developing and growing. I would not label him as an elite quarterback, kind of like Tua was. Tua was already on an elite level when he was coming in, but he still was vulnerable to making mistakes. And that's why it took them time for them to put Tua in. Now, when it came time in that championship game when we needed a spark, Tua did come in and did his thing, and we won a national championship. I was a member of that team, and that was the right call. But to say you should have done it sooner, hindsight is 2020, and that's all hypotheticals. You could have played Tua sooner, and he could have gone through those growing pains as a true freshman, and it might not have turned out that way. So I don't like that argument either for those two reasons. The fact that Tua, in my opinion, is on a different level than Ty Simpson, at least where they're at right now. And two, it's all hypotheticals, right? And people can say all they want about Jalen Hurts. The guy that everybody said wasn't going to be a quarterback, couldn't play quarterback in the National Football League, became the highest paid player in NFL history and is arguably one of the best quarterbacks in the National Football League right now. So that goes to show you it's all about growth and development and maximizing your skill set. A guy like Jalen Milroe could very well at some point in his career see himself at that level. Is he there yet? No, he's still learning and growing himself. But at the end of the day, what matters is who's the best man for the job now. Because at Alabama, that's the standard. It's championship year or bust, right? And so that's what we're playing for. You can't just improvise and try to put guys in to develop. That's not how Alabama works. And so, again, when you look at Jalen Milroe, what does he do well? He has great, not even great, elite athleticism. We saw that on display multiple times this year, right? But he also has a really good deep ball. We heard people say, well, he can't make intermediate throws. We've seen him progress in that category. I always tell people he can make those throws. Coach Saban came out and endorsed him and called him an accurate quarterback. It's just about being consistent with those throws and putting him in position to be successful and making sure he's in position to make the plays that he's capable of making. That goes on the coaches as well. I truly believe if we had some different plays being called that were more tailored to him, that doesn't mean changing everything. It just means setting him up for success. He would be even better. And that's why I think he's continuing to grow, because they're putting him in position more, but they're also doing a better job of giving him opportunities to gain experience each week. That's important. So I say all this to say, I don't know why this is a conversation right now. We've been playing some solid football, right? The defense has been really good. Special teams has been phenomenal. When you're talking about Will Reichert and James Burnett, both guys are two of the best in the country right now. And so the offense, the area of weakness, coming into this season, they've slowly been growing. They've been getting better each week. The offensive line play has improved each week. I think we're on the right track. Why are we talking about making changes right now? That's not the way to do it. You have Ty Simpson in your back pocket if you ever feel the need. But to say that they need to make a change, that's crazy. Again, 17 of 21, 10 of 12, not throwing the most passes, right? But he's done a better job protecting the football, and he's making those throws. It's like everything he does is under scrutiny and is due to be criticized. Why don't we look at the positives that he's doing, right? He's doing some really good things. I just looked the other day. I think he was fourth, but now it looks like he might be third in QBR in the SEC. Again, I know it's a limited sample size in terms of his throws, but he didn't play against USF, so you take that into consideration. But the fact is, when they do let him throw the ball and he does have time, he's not running for his life. Like my dad said, he might be a little slow sometimes to process things. That'll get better with experience the more he plays with in-game experience. But he has been making good throws, and he's been protecting the football. And with his athletic ability, that is a whole nother layer that the defense has to defend. It's a fact. We both were edge rushers. We played on the edge. We always were responsible for the quarterback, whether it was in the pass rush game plan or when you're playing the run. When the quarterback does zone reads, the edge guy is primarily the quarterback player. We know how hard it is to defend a quarterback with the athleticism of Jalen Milroe. You tack on that, he's growing in his passing ability, in that he can make those nice throws. Put him in position and let him succeed. And I think that's what we've been seeing. So here's my thing, and I'll close with this. There's no need to be panicking or saying we need to make changes or, I'm worried because when we play other teams, we got to throw the ball more. Well, tell the coordinator to call more plays, right? They don't have to necessarily be those drop back passing plays. Call more RPOs, call more quick slants and quick passes, whether it's screens, what have you. Set up those plays. I just watched the Eagles run a beautifully executed. They faked the tunnel screen, and the number 2 wide receiver, which was A.J. Brown, faked like he was going to block the corner and turned upfield on a wheel route for a big gain. Call those type of plays. Jalen Milroe can make those throws, right? We can throw the ball more. It comes after you set up the run game, which we've been doing better as of recently. But that's what it's not just on Jalen Milroe, right? When they do ask him to throw the ball, he's done a pretty dang good job. And I think that's what we need to focus on is the positives and not being so negative, folks, and let these guys work. Again, Coach Saban is the head coach. He sees this guy more than anybody. I've seen him a good bit, but he sees him even more. If he comes out and says, he's our guy, we're fully backing this guy, we're supporting this guy, this is who we're going with, he's an accurate thrower, he gives us the best chance to win, I trust it. You guys might think he was wrong with the Tua Jalen situation, but it played out just fine, right? I was on that team. I experienced that whole thing. Look, these guys see it. They watch the tape. They coach these guys. At the end of the day, they know better than all of us. And so I'll end with this. Let the coaches coach. I know they're not perfect, but they're doing a pretty dang good job. This team is improving. They're a young team. They're still learning. They're still growing. Let's pump the brakes on all this conversation. We can come back to it if there's glaring issues or things start coming up. But right now, I think we're on the right trajectory, and we just need to trust and believe in this process and get behind this guy and Jalen Milroe, because right now he is the best quarterback for the job. I get it. You got used to guys like Bryce Young and Tua Tagovailoa. Guess what, folks? You don't have that on this roster right now. So what do? You make the most of what you do have. And what do you have? You have a guy in Jalen Milroe who's a pretty dang good football player as long as you put him in position to succeed.
All right, let me give you these numbers. Since a lot of you are stat people, okay? If I told you said player had a game last year, 12 and 19, 111 yards, okay, that's 63%, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. You sacked 4 times, right? If I told you he had 17 carries for 81 yards, and then going forward, if I told you this guy had basically, 10 of 12, one game, 17 of 21, 14 of 27, 13 of 18 in starts with, that's 9 touchdowns passing, 4 interceptions. To go along with rushing the football, if I said player would have had those numbers and all of those, he was 4-1 as a starter. What would you say? You would probably say that's pretty daggum good, right? I'm not throwing in a rushing touchdown. Those are passing touchdowns. That's what Jalen Milroe has done. I mean, 3 of the 4 games this year that he started, over 70-some% passing of the football. And the one bad game was Texas, if you want to say bad. Okay, he had the 2 interceptions, right? And then take away the 2 other interceptions that he threw that were called back because of penalty in the Texas game. He had 5 touchdowns total in one other game. Against the team he played last year, started against last year, his only start, which he won, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Rushed for almost 100 yards against A&M. Against some of the same guys that he's going to see Saturday at 2:30 on CBS. So all I'm just saying is people want to see PlayStation football. That's what they want to see. If you're not throwing it all over the yard and have a bunch of frisbee catching dogs, then you don't play quarterback well. This guy is talented. Tommy Rees has to help him out. Tommy Rees has to give him more opportunity. That's going to come, I'm assuming, with more experience, with more playing time, with more of him getting the handle of the offense. We can't sit back and say that this dude can't play. He can't grind. Yes, he can. He's proven. He's 4-1 as a starter. 4-1. And these are not just easy opponents. He's 4-1. And by the way, he came in against Arkansas on the road when Bryce got hurt and won that game. So the guy can play. What you can't do is take away from who he is. And I think coaches can hurt that. You don't want to steal his confidence. All he needed was the bolt of confidence to say, hey, you're the guy. You're my dude. Here's a playbook. Let's look at what you can do. Let's look at what you like. Tommy Rees, give him the option to say, I like this, this, and this. That's how you utilize this type of talent. And they haven't done a great job of coaching that talent. So it's not just him. He can do more. But they have to allow him to do more. And that's by play calling. Right? More quarterback runs, more quarterback counters. More, direct snap, draw plays, RPOs, use the run game. They got talent on the outside. They got talent at tight end. They got talent. Alabama has talent everywhere. And yet I hear so many people talk about, oh, they don't have this. No, they just haven't been used. We don't know if they don't have. We always so quick to compare these teams. We don't know if they have a Jalen Waddle or Ruggs or Devon. We don't know because they haven't been used in that capacity. They haven't been asked to do all of these things. It's a different team. They're doing things a different way. And if you watch most good teams, most well-coached teams, those things will evolve during the course of the season. They're getting better, which they are. They're getting better. The offensive line is protecting better. They're running the ball with more efficiency. They're throwing short, intermediate routes. And by the way, they'll hit you on the top, too. If you're going to walk that safety down, go one-on-one. They're not afraid to hit a deep post on you, which he throws well. So, the bottom line is this. It's stupid. It's uncalled for. It's a bunch of people yelling and screaming that have no freaking clue. Like you said, if you can't see that he's the best guy for the job, then you absolutely don't know football, don't know what you're talking about. Just fact. Because if you understand what they have and what they're doing, granted, I believe the offensive coordinator can do a lot more to help. I'm not afraid to go into a fight with a dog like Milroe. I'll take my chances. But I would like that coordinator to be more innovative, to be more open, to drawing up some plays, to give him more easier throws. And as he gets that during the early part of the game, that builds his confidence up. People are talking about holding the ball, and I agree that he does because he's trying. When you are telling a kid over and over, a young quarterback over and over about interception, we harp on an interception so much. That makes him very timid. That makes him very cautious to throw guys open. It makes him very cautious to try to fit a ball into a tight window. They get so conservative, they only want to throw when a guy's truly wide open. And that's what this is to the coaching staff's fault. You got to just let him play. If he's your guy, you let him play. You deal with the good, you deal with the bad. You coach him when the bad, you applaud him and love him when the good. That's what you do. And the coaching staff has to do a better job with that. You can't make him very timid to where he's just scared to go out and play ball. Because I think we still only seen a shell of Jalen Milroe. Because I think his skill set is so high. But they got to build this offense that works for him. And they still using that same offense, boring, lethargic, lazy, and not allowing him to play to his strengths and to the strengths of guys that are around him. So that's what I see. I watch every game. I watch it over. I look at certain things. I watch certain plays. Listen, that's all they got to do. And you got a team that people are saying A&M. I went and looked at all the stats since you brought it up on the show earlier. I went and looked at stats. Listen, Alabama defensively has just as good stats as Texas A&M. I mean, it might be, 8 here and 16 here, but you look at the total defensive yard, they might be 10 yards difference. What would he do? Right? I mean, just like that don't matter to me. Right? So, but what does matter is I believe Alabama has the best quarterback in this game. Max Johnson has played some football, right? But he is not Jalen Milroe. And so Alabama just has to use what they got. And they got a big-time weapon. You can have all kinds of guns, right? But you might have this high-powered one over here, and I hate to use this analogy right now, but I'm just saying, but if you don't use it, I mean, if you go hunting and you got this rifle over here that whatever that's got a scope and you can see further than 100 yards or whatever, but you don't use it, you can't expect to kill certain things, right? That's kind of how I look at it. You got this weapon in your arsenal, but you're holding it back. You got in the case and it looks good, but if you don't pull out the case and use it, it does you no good. And that's what I feel like Tommy Rees and the offense of Alabama has done to Jalen Milroe. So hopefully this week, 2:30 CBS, they'll take it out the case and use it. because they got a powerful one that can, man, he can change a game just like that. And we saw a glimpse of that against Mississippi State. So I don't know what these people talking about, especially the dude on YouTube, whoever you are, that don't show your face, but you the coach, goat, and all that, whatever it says. It's ridiculous. I
Well,
mean, it's just ridiculous.
let me also just put this narrative to bed too, that I also saw, and this bothered me, where people said, it's not fair to Ty Simpson or Buckner. They didn't get a fair shake because the team didn't play for them when they did get an opportunity. Let's be clear. If you think, as a competitor, guys at the University of Alabama would just lay down, bow down, and let a South Florida team and guys just beat and abuse them on tape, that all the scouts from the National Football League are going to watch, because these guys have hopes and aspirations of playing at the next level. If you think just because they made a quarterback change, they're just going to lay down and let guys do whatever, have their way because they're upset, you've never played football at a high level. Guys have too much pride. They're competitive. And on top of that, just so you realize, they didn't block well the week prior for Jalen Milroe, who you claim was the guy they wanted and the only guy they'd perform for. They didn't block very well for him the week prior.
That looked good to me.
Yeah, so it didn't. It looked about the same as it did for when Jalen was behind center the week prior. Just so we're clear. So I just want to put that narrative to bed, because I'm tired of people saying, "Well, it wasn't fair to Ty Simpson because they didn't block for him like they blocked for." They didn't block for Milroe the first couple games either. They still were trying to find their niche. So that I don't want to hear that. And then, real quick, let me just tell you guys, it's all about putting guys in position. I'll give you an example, and having weapons. Right, Bryce Young was taken #1 overall. Arguably the best passer in this draft, best player in this draft. We saw what he can do, the Heisman Trophy winner. What if I told you he's being outplayed right now in the NFL by a guy like Anthony Richardson? Right? And
Well,
that's not
everybody
a
said it
knock
was
on
like
Bryce.
Jalen Milroe that can't play.
Right, a guy that people would probably consider Jalen Milroe to be like, a guy that, he's only athletic, he can only throw a deep ball, it's all for show. Anthony Richardson's doing pretty decent right now, and that's not a knock on Bryce. What I'm saying is, it's because the Colts are doing a much better job of putting him in position to succeed, utilizing the guys around him, right? Running an offense that is tailored more so to him because they know what he is. Poor Bryce is behind, and this is my team. I played for the Panthers. Is behind an offensive line that's probably one of the worst in the NFL right now. Doesn't have any weapons. He can't do anything. So I say that to say, you've got to understand, not everything is always going to be on the quarterback. The play of the quarterback has a lot to do of the offense line and the weapons as well. So we also got to take that into consideration. But let us know what you guys' thoughts are on this. Are we jumping the gun? Not us, but are others jumping the gun thinking that, not me or my dad, but are people jumping the gun thinking we need a quarterback change? Who do you think should be the quarterback at the University of Alabama? And what are your thoughts moving forward? We want to get your thoughts and want you in on the conversation. So make sure first you leave a big thumbs up below for your support. If you like the content and get more, subscribe. And also leave a comment on what your thoughts on this whole situation, right? This has been another little episode of the Miller's Edge. We appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll see you guys next time.